In this mini documentary, I'm going to be discussing one of the greatest American companies to ever hit the music scene, from its history, innovation, and culture. This is Ernie Ball, a retrospective. Ernie Ball, the world's leading manufacturer of strings and accessories, has been making high-quality electric guitar and bass strings since 1962. In your own words, who is Ernie Ball?
My grandfather, in a lot of ways, was a maverick entrepreneur and really established a great deal of innovation in our company and where we're at today. After he got out of the war, the Korean War that is, he had one thing that he was extremely passionate about, and that was guitar.
World-class players like Paul McCartney, Keith Richards, Eric Clapton, Slash, Jimmy Page, and Buddy Guy have all played Ernie Ball strings to create their unique sound. Ernie Ball uses the latest technologies and finest materials to continuously enhance playing experience and provide an unparalleled palette of expressive options. Here is a quote from Ernie Ball himself. "Great strings can't cure a bad amp, an S-curve neck, or lousy room acoustics. But when all of these primary elements are correct, strings become bottom line. And that's where we come in. We provide for the necessary goals sought by guitarists everywhere. Consistently reliable, high-quality strings, reasonably priced." 1953, meeting Leo Fender. While Ernie was in Arizona, he heard about the radio repairman named Leo Fender, who was making solid body electric guitars and steel guitars. Ernie took leave, drove to Fullerton, and he and Leo hit it off. Ernie thought this was the best thing he had seen. From there, he beta tested for Leo and became an endorsee. 1954, Ernie Ball opens up a teaching studio, giving guitar lessons to aspiring players. So can you tell me a little bit more on Ernie's earlier career experience?
So he opened the first ever guitar-only shop, and he put a music studio, a teaching studio, in the back of his building. He quickly found out that students and kids, they didn't have the strength or dexterity in their fingers to bend the strings properly that were available at the time. So he went to Leo Fender and Gibson and a variety of other companies at the time and said, "Hey, we need to make skinnier strings." Well, he said, "Ernie, you're nuts. You're crazy." So he started actually private labeling banjo frailing strings inside his package sets of Ernie Ball strings. That's how Slinkies were born.
In 1958, Ernie opened what was the first electric guitar store in the world. He was warned many times that he would go broke, and he did just that, but he always paid his bills. But shortly after opening up that electric guitar store, things started to turn around. In 1959, Ernie Ball began selling drums. In 1962, Ernie Ball starts producing his own American-made products. He creates custom string gauges for worldwide touring musicians, and the Slinky line is officially born. What is the Reader's Digest version of the origin of the Slinky string, where it came from?
Ernie Ball's Slinkies were really founded out of the birth of rock and roll. I mean, our family and our company's roots are so entrenched in Southern California and the rock and roll scene that started to erupt here in the States, due in large part to the British invasion. The one true way that Slinkies were created were out of lessons and teaching. The story he had in Tarzana, he opened a teaching studio in the back because a lot of the students were wanting to learn how to play this new form of music that was originating, and he noticed that a lot of the students that were younger didn't have the strength or finger dexterity to bend the strings. At the time, an E string was anywhere from, I think at the lightest at 13 all the way up to 15. They were really big and made again for rhythm instruments. Through that, he kind of noticed and saw an opportunity that, hey, we got to make skinnier strings because the guitar's being played differently. People are wanting to express themselves different with the electric guitar, and some of that was bending. I mean, a lot of that is bending, and trying to bend 15 gauge E strings and play these solos that these heroes were playing was really challenging. Slinkies were originally had banjo frailing strings as the plain strings. My dad and his brothers and sister would would be the kids that would come after school and hand coil these sets and take banjo strings and put them in these rock and roll guitar string packs. My grandpa obviously had a store that he could sell those strings out of, and that was really the origins of it. He was the first to come out with strings with these gauges from 9 to 42 to 10 to 46. And all the really common gauges that a lot of manufacturers use today were his recipes.
A few years later, in 1967, Ernie Ball closes his Tarzana store and opens up a new store in Newport Beach, California. It is here where he began focusing more on strings and accessories for the electric guitar. 1970, Sterling Ball, Ernie Ball's brother, has been involved in the family business since he was 9 years old. Running cash registers and packaging strings, he worked part-time after school and on weekends. He was also a musician himself. He played both the electric and bass guitar. This love for music earned him the job of a beta tester for Leo Fender's new bass, the Music Man Stingray. Can you tell me a little bit about the relationship between Ernie Ball and Music Man?
Music Man was such a natural fit for us because of the connection and lineage that Fender has with Ernie Ball, or I should say Ernie Ball has with Fender. After Leo had sold to CBS and had created Music Man with Tom Walker, who just so happened to be my dad's godfather, they wanted a young rock kid to come beta test this new Stingray bass guitar. You know, there was a lot of country players and funk players playing it, but they didn't have a lot of young rock kids. So my dad was one of Leo's beta testers for the Stingray, and played all around Newport Beach with this bass. It was Sterling, my dad, who really had a passion for making guitars and making basses, and pushed to acquire the brand. And we did that in 1984, and I think there was a kind of an oh shit moment for him. It was like, okay, we bought it, now how the heck are we going to build these things? But there's been so many highlights of Music Man from the 90s when we signed Eddie Van Halen, and that was another oh shit moment. How are we going to scale to meet demand for Van Halen with, you know, the For I'm Awful Carnal Knowledge record out, and that record just was insane and blew up. And it was such an electric time for the brand. You know, Slinkies were on fire, and the brand was really strong on the string side of things. But now we were a real player on the guitar side of things. It wasn't just the Stingray bass, and it wasn't just Eddie. It was guys like Steve Lukather, Steve Morris, Albert Lee, really the guys that we built the foundation of the brand with. Is that it's really for guys that want something that's extremely well crafted. It's made in the U.S. and it plays as good as any guitar that's ever been made.
In 1971, the first Guitar Center opened in Hollywood, California. To this day, Ernie Ball and Guitar Center continue to work together to produce great products. 1972, the formation of Music Man. Ernie and Tom Walker met early on when Tom was the West Coast Fender sales rep calling on Ernie's guitar shop. They became great friends, and Tom Walker was asked to be the godfather of Sterling Ball. In the early 70s, Tom designed a new preamp circuit that would eventually become a new line of amplifiers for the Music Man Company. Founded by Tom Walker, Leo Fender, and Forrest White in 1972, the Music Man Company was eventually bought by Ernie Ball in 1984. In 1972, the first Earthwood bass was created. 1973, the origins of a family business. In early 1973, Sterling decides to join the team as a traveling sales rep and fully throw himself into the evolving company. Sterling says to the inside sales manager at the time, "Give me a month, a gas card, and that old Chevy out in the parking lot that's not being used. Pay me only what I sell, and if it isn't worth it, then fire me." Needless to say, Sterling went on to set record sales that year and has not looked back since. Much later in 1979, Ernie packs up and moves his headquarters to San Luis Obispo, California. In 1984, Ernie Ball comes out with yet another product, the Ernie Ball RPS, or Reinforced Plain Strings. These were the Slinkies that hit the market and quickly became an artist favorite. These strings feature an extra wrapping of brass around the ball and the end of the string for added strength and stability. In 1997, Ernie Ball joins the Warped Tour game. The company participates in the Battle of the Bands and eventually develops into a long-lasting relationship between Kevin Lyman and the Warped Tour. 1998 sees the debut of the Ernie Ball Bus. The Ernie Ball Bus visited many music dealers across the U.S. This Ernie Ball Bus brought along tons of swag and some amazing Ernie Ball Music Man instruments for customers to try. At the start of the new century, year 2000, Ernie Ball Mobile Stage makes its debut. Each year, tens of thousands of concert goers flock to see what new band is playing on the Ernie Ball Stage at the Warped Tour. This Battle of the Bands promotion gives over 500 bands the chance to play live on the Ernie Ball Stage each summer and hosts upward of 25,000 band profiles at battleofthebands.com. 2004, Ernie Ball begins the Scion Tours. The Scion Tours involve visiting dealers and stopping at every roadside attraction along the way. Dealers and end users alike are able to track the Scion's progress online with an up-to-the-minute website featuring blogs, photos, and insight as to what the Scion team is up to. 2006. In response to the first mobile stage, Ernie Ball unveils the MS2, a second mobile stage which now serves as one of the main stages on the Vans Warped Tour. 2008. More to the Slinky lineup. Well, sort of. Element Shield packaging launches with wide industry acclaim. Spearheaded by Brian Ball, the new packaging aims to keep your strings as fresh as the day they were made. We wanted to give customers the absolute freshest set of strings possible, in addition to enhancing the merchandising appeal for retailers. This revolutionary packaging has also proven to combat counterfeiting. Later that same year, new coated acoustic and coated electric Slinky strings make their debut at the Summer NAMM Show 2008. These new coated Slinky strings feature a titanium reinforcement around the ball end to prevent string breakage and enhance tuning stability. In 2012, Ernie Ball, the company, turns 50. And the Ernie Ball product line just does not stop. In 2014, aluminum bronze strings are introduced. These aluminum bronze acoustic strings feature more projection and clarity than traditional bronze strings, while also providing improved corrosion resistance. Made from a blend of copper and aluminum, specifically tailored for acoustic guitar strings. In 2015, Ernie Ball's grandson, Brian Ball, is promoted to president. Sterling Ball stated, quote, "Since 1962, Ernie Ball Inc. has been dedicated to providing tools for artists, and we are excited to see what another 50 plus years in the industry will bring under Brian's leadership." The Slinky flat wound bass strings. These strings were released in 2015. The flat wound bass strings combine the smooth feel of traditional flats with the modern power of cobalt, an innovative new bass string that features the total qualities of a round wound with the slinky smooth feel and fundamentals of a flat round string. In 2016, Ernie Ball held its 20th Battle of the Bands. In celebration of partnering with the Vans Warped Tour, the Battle of the Bands program is renamed to Ernie Ball, Play Warped Tour. This event now gives bands the opportunity to win over $40,000 in cash and prizes, a 3-song EP with Newfound Glory's Chad Gilbert, plus a spot on the Warped Tour main stage. So that is the brief 63-year history of Ernie Ball, a company that is 70 years old. If you enjoyed that video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel, Cool Trainer Kyle. You can also find my work at synergystudios.net. And if you have any suggestions for any videos or any comments, just go ahead, just leave it down below. And before I go, I'm going to leave you with this quote from Ernie Ball. "Consistently reliable, high quality strings, reasonably priced." I definitely agree with that, Ernie. Just from the amount of joy you get from the strings. And $30 for strings isn't too bad. I mean, really. Right, bye everyone, and good times.